Hello everyone, my name is Joel, although most of you know me as Gear, and today I'm going to be telling you about my hero. Throughout history, he has been known by many names, but in this day and age, he simply goes by Negi Haruba. Negi started his life as a potato farmer, and while he was really good at his job, he yearned for more. He's like, man, as much as I enjoy picking potatoes all day, what I really want to do with my life is to spend 3 years writing a romantic comedy manga in Weekly Shonen magazine.
I don't know how to tell them. You tell them.
Girls, we have some bad news.
What?
Everyone who has
a present father,
step forward. Not so fast, girl.
Randy!
The quintessential quintuplets. This is a romantic comedy series written and illustrated by, of course, the legend Negi Haruba, and it was serialized between 2017 and 2020 in Weekly Shonen magazine. This story, of course, takes place in Japan and follows our protagonist, the third-year high school student Futaro Uesugi. Now, in a breath of fresh air for this genre, our main character is actually like a massive Chad. He particularly excels in his schoolwork. He is a very bright student. He's no genius or anything, but, you know, he gets the job done. The main struggle he really goes through is that his family is kind of poor. His mom has since passed away, he lives with his dad and his little sister, and that they often struggle to get by. So we see at the start of the series he is attempting to find work, particularly in the place where he excels. And as luck would have it, he scores a gig working for a wealthy doctor to tutor his daughters. Now these daughters are the Nakano sisters, Ichika, Nino, Miku, Yotsuba, and Itsuki. Now Futaro does meet these girls in school before he begins tutoring them, without actually knowing that these are the girls he's to tutor, and they get off to a bit of a sour start. So when they all realize the situation that they're in, it doesn't go over so well at first. The interesting thing about the Nakano sisters is that not only are they sisters, but they are identical quintuplets. So they all look the same, basically. I mean, they don't. They all have their different personalities and hairstyles or whatever. But they're all the same, so I'm sure that will lead to some fun shenanigans later on. Now, some of these girls who welcome Futaro into their lives, they really need help with their schoolwork. Because, yeah, they need a tutor, they suck at school, but they really suck. Like, these girls are brainlets. Their scores are, like, so comically low. they desperately need help. But some of the other sisters kind of hate Futaro's guts. They don't like how this random dude just showed up into their lives, and now they're expected to pay attention and listen to him. So, you know, they're button heads, some tensions are rising, but things get a bit more urgent when Futaro's new boss, the Quince's father, he lets him know that, like, if these girls are still doing shit after a while, I'm gonna have to fire you because you just won't be good enough. Futaro obviously doesn't want to lose his job, but a lot of the Quince hate him and want him to lose his job, while others want him to keep it because they like him. It's all a big happy mess. And then we take it from there. That's the quintessential quintuplets. But there's one more detail I've been leaving out, and this is not a spoiler because it is literally the first page of the manga, which is set several years after the events of the series and shows Futaro about to marry one of these sisters. The catch is that you can't tell who it is because they're quintuplets, they all look the same. So this series does have a mystery element because throughout the entire thing, you know for a fact that one of these girls is going to hook up with Futaro by the end, but you don't know who. So things get fucking wild. It's romantic comedy, they get into some wacky scenarios, we get to learn a lot more about these girls, about their lives, and see their relationship with Futaro grow. And I have to say, I immensely enjoyed this series. Now you might be a bit confused. I mean, this premise does sound kind of trash, and yeah, you know, I thought the same thing too. So I was very shocked when I discovered that this is not just your run-of-the-mill generic-ass harem comedy series. This is so much more than that. Quince has a pretty episodic structure. You know, the sisters and Futaro will get into a bunch of silly scenarios, often revolving around, you know, romantic interests, you know, their school lives, all that type of stuff. And a lot of it you've probably seen before. You know, they'll go on school trips, they'll have culture festivals. Oh, there's a rumor that if you touch the person you love when the fireworks go off. On paper, like, a lot of this stuff sounds very by the numbers, shonen romance nonsense. Negi does not conform. Okay, pretty much every normal romance manga trope here kind of gets flipped on its head. This is not a generic and predictable series in the slightest. I almost had no idea where it was going, and Negi really throws some curveballs your way, which made it a very consistently exciting read. It's also very consistently funny. It's not exactly laugh out loud. I would say the humor is more charming than anything. It's still really well done, a lot of great memorable moments. I should also mention, this is not an ecchi series. If you're someone who doesn't like fan service type stuff in romance manga, you you will not have this problem in quintuplets at all. There's like no cheap panty shots. I think he walks in on one girl in the shower once, but that's it. all very crisp and clean and fun for the whole family. So all this stuff goes on for a while. Negi keeps throwing in new ideas to keep things fresh. We get a few more hints towards the future. We see a few more flash forwards to this, wedding at the end. And there are all these elements that add to the mystery of who this final girl is. But as made evident from the very first page, we do get a final girl. And this is where things get a bit weird, because throughout the series, and I'll talk about the characters in a moment, you've probably chosen a favorite. And no matter who that is, it can cause a lot of anxiety near the end, because you know that you only have a 20% chance of Futaro choosing your favorite. So for that reason, disappointment from a lot of people will be inevitable. However, when you look at the story, when you look at all of the things that it set up, all of the things it means, I think that no matter which Quint is your favorite, it's really hard to be dissatisfied with it, because it's probably the option that makes the most sense. And you might not think that at first. Like, this manga is very, very subtle about it, but if you actually go back, see all the instances of foreshadowing, this ending really did make a lot of sense, and overall, just the conclusion to the story was very, very well done. It really hit home that this isn't a story about just a single romance between Futaro and the mystery girl. It's really a story about friendship between all of them. And I was very, very sad when it ended, because I just had a blast with this. Main reason for that, of course, being the characters. Futaro is awesome. He is great. There's nothing particularly special about this guy as a main character, but it's hard not to love him. With the lengths he goes through to help these girls, the ways he connects to them, becomes their friends, and his often deadpan delivery is just hilarious. He's nothing special, but he is a very likable protagonist, and he does the job well. But of course, the main stars of the show are the Nakano sisters. Ichika, she is the oldest, technically. I mean, they were all born at the same time, but you know how it is. But that being said, she is often seen as the most mature of the sisters. She's probably the most confident out of all of them, as she is an aspiring actress, and a rivalry with her and another one of the sisters is kind of what kicks off the romance pot in this one. Not the most memorable, not the most forgettable, but she was good. Next up is Nino. Nino is a colossal bitch. Like, she's actually awful. I despise Nino. That being said, I hate to say it, she probably has the best development out of any of these characters. She starts off really hating Futaro's guts. She's the one who wants to get rid of him. She doesn't want him around her sister. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She's very stuck up. She doesn't have a soul. She's just the worst. But as time progresses, we do get to see some major changes in Nino. And I hate to say it, but I really enjoyed what went down with her character. I may not have liked her as a person, but as a character in this story, she was pretty damn good. Next up is Miku, the quiet, the shy one. And Miku's really good. She's kind of in the same camp as Ichika for me. It's nothing too memorable, but she still does the job very well. The fourth is Yotsuba. Yotsuba is my favorite. At first glance, she's kind of the airhead. I mean, they are all idiots, but Yotsuba gives off the impression of being, the biggest idiot. She's very athletic, very energetic, and she loves the bullshit. And that's all her character really seems to be at first. In fact, when I first started the series, I didn't really like Yotsuba at all. But over time, we get to see more sides of her. Like Nino, she also gets a ton of great development, and I've really ended up thoroughly enjoying her character arc. Next up is Itsuki. Oh boy. Nobody's favorite's Itsuki, man. I kind of feel bad for her, but also not really. Out of all the characters in this series, she's probably the least developed and leaves the smallest impact on you, which is a bit weird considering she is the first Quint to meet Futaro at the start of the series. I mean, she does have a personality, but it really doesn't stand out that much compared to all of the others. And she does play a significant role in the story, especially when it comes to Futaro's character arc. And when it comes to that, she does do a decent enough job, but I really wish I could have connected more with Itsuki. She really just seems like by far the weakest character in the series. Other than that, there are a few other minor characters. You have Futaro's dad, the Quints' dad, Futaro's little sister, who a lot of the Quints, start to take a liking to. She plays a decent role in the series. Other than that, just very minor roles here or there, so, not a huge cast at all, which is great because it gives us a lot of time to spend with these characters, get to know them really well, and it all just elevates the story so much because most of these characters, you love them. You can't get enough of them. I mean, yeah, sometimes they're acting like idiots, sometimes they can be kind of bitchy. Yeah, overall, great cast, great story. And man, is the art nice. This is definitely a series where you can see the evolution of Negi as an artist from the start to the finish. He isn't by no means bad at the start. It's pretty great throughout the whole thing. But just comparing, the start of the series to the end, it's clear Negi is a Chad. I review a lot of action manga when there's usually a lot to talk about the art there, but when it comes to, more romantic comedy slice of life stuff, you're not focusing on big epic set pieces or battles or action poses. It's mostly just the characters hanging out. So in terms of art, it's really never as interesting as, fantasy science fiction stuff. But I have to say, Negi is very, very talented, especially when it comes to the character designs. Probably saved a lot of time drawing this manga because all of the main characters have the exact same face and body type, but despite that, he makes such an effort to give the Quints their own personality. They all have their different looks, the different clothes they wear, their hairstyles, their expressions. Oftentimes you take away their clothes and hair, which I don't think ever happens. You can always be able to tell them apart just from their face. And when all the comedy stuff is going down, all the goofy expressions and stuff, all the deadpan deliveries from Futaro, the art really elevates it. It's exceptionally good for a romantic comedy series. So yeah, no complaints on the art at all. I think it was absolutely fantastic. The only thing that I sometimes got a bit confused about, I mentioned the Quints would sometimes disguise themselves as each other. I don't really understand how they could do that in certain points because it makes it very clear from all the color pages that they all have their hair dyed different colors. So when someone mistakes one of the sisters for another, shouldn't it be clear that they have different color hair? I'm interested to see what's going to happen when the anime gets to this, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Quintessential Quintuplets is fantastic. It is one of the best romance manga I've ever read. That being said, I haven't read all that many romance manga, but for what this one is, with a premise like this, it's really the best it possibly could have been. And if you're a fan of this type of manga, I cannot recommend it enough, and I give it a 9 out of 10. And if you want to check it out for yourself, unfortunately the whole series isn't available to read legally. Oops. But Kodansha has been consistently releasing the singles. A bunch of them are out now, so you can go check those out if you would like to own them. You of course have the anime. Only one season is out so far, but in my opinion it was a pretty solid adaptation of the manga. You can't really go wrong with it. And season 2 was supposed to air this season, but unfortunately it had a few delays. There was a studio change and now it's not going to be out until October, which kind of sucks. I hope the next season is good. If it's on par of season 1, I think people have a lot to look forward to. On that note, if you are not caught up with the quintessential quintuplets, I would advise you to be very, very careful looking things up about it. It's so easy to spoil this series for someone. It's just a name. You say a single word and you've spoiled the whole thing for someone. Be careful, guys. Probably best to just avoid things about the series altogether if you don't want it spoiled. Please don't spoil it in the comments below, unless you do a spoiler thing and then you have to click read more to read it. That's fine, but no blatant spoilers. I will delete it if you do. And there you have it. Thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts on the quintessential quintuplets in the comments below. Talk about why Negi Haruba is such an influential figure, and I will see you all very soon when we finally, after years and years and years, take a look at Blade of the Immortal. Probably not going to be as good as this series though. This kind of is the peak.